Hey guys, so today I'm going to show you how to create your animal pinch pot container. The first thing that you want to do is choose the animal that you want to create, and then after that you need to kind of decide what sort of shape your pinch pot is going to become. So for mine, I have more of a circular shape going on here. Depending on the animal that you choose, you could have just a circular shape, you could have more of like an elongated pinch pot, but it just depends on the animal that you choose. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. So I'm going to go ahead and start my pinch pot. I'm going to use one of my small little round pieces of clay, and I'm going to just go ahead and start to hit this clay off of the table and form it into a little square. Just kind of like this. And then I'm going to take this and start to use this area of my hand to smack this clay into a sphere. I'm going to round out the edges just like this. And I'm going to have kind of like a little sphere of clay just like this, and I'm just going to keep pressing until I get something that looks about like this. Alright, now my next step is to take my thumb and I'm going to literally just push down through the clay just like this, and I'm going to create a hole right into the center of this sphere of clay. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my thumb and my pointer and middle finger, and I'm going to start to work this clay and pinch it in between my thumb and these two fingers in order to form my pinch pot. So I'm going to place my thumb down through the hole of the clay. I'm going to take these two fingers and I'm going to just start to pull the clay up. I'm just going to move around, and what I'm doing is as I'm pulling the clay up, I'm pinching it in between my thumb and those two fingers and starting to like just manipulate that clay a little bit. So I'm just going to slowly start to move around just like this. If you notice that your clay is starting to crack, it's okay. It'll be fine. But I'm just going to start to pull that clay up just like this. If you need to switch hands, my hands get a little bit tired. I'm just going to just continue to pinch that and pull the clay towards the top. You want to make sure that you're keeping enough clay in this area. You don't want to pinch too hard, because what can happen is that can become really thin and then you can create a hole right through your wall. Okay, so like I said, if you notice some areas that seem like they're cracking, it's okay. It might just need a little bit of water, but we can go back and kind of fix that. So this is what I have so far. It's a little bit wacky looking. It's kind of going all over the place, but like I said, we are going to fix that here, and we'll probably just fix that soon. Okay, the other thing you can do is you can kind of hold this right into like the cup of your hand, and then I kind of tend to take my middle finger and kind of push that clay up. That kind of allows this area to be smoothed out a little bit, but it also moves some of the clay that's down at the base, because our base tends to be just a little bit thicker than the rest of the walls, just because there's still clay down there. So I'm going to just smooth this out a little bit, just like this, and kind of try to move that clay. And so now I have this little kind of crazy looking pinch pot. Okay, now this can be where you put your change. You could put some jewelry in here for the ladies. You could put a succulent in here. You could do like different things for storage with this pinch pot, but this is where we're going to start right here. Now what I'm going to do is you can either take your needle tool or you can take your finishing tool, one of the two, and I'm just going to cut this down because I don't want all of this excess stuff up here at the top. So I'm going to just kind of start to draw my line out just like this of how I want to cut this pinch pot down. And I'm gonna follow and meet that up the whole way. Now whenever I have that, I am gonna go back through and I'm actually going to cut and push the whole way through that clay and cut that off. So I'm gonna go ahead and go do that and I will be right back. So I have cut off that top part that I didn't want anymore, so now you can see that my bowl is not as tall, but we also got rid of some of that excess stuff. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to just kind of start to maybe bring these pieces up here at the top, just kind of up here like this, just kind of pinching them in between my fingers. I don't really want it to be a bowl so much as I want it to be like more of like almost like a little kind of cup. The other thing that I'm gonna do is I'm going to kind of smack the bottom off of this table to create more of a flattened area. The other thing that you can use is a wooden paddle like the ones I have here, and you can just kind of lightly tap on this clay. This sometimes helps to even out surfaces if there's some rough spots, just like this. And then I'm going to kind of tap down that bottom as well because I want that to be nice and flat. Okay, so now I have my little pinch pot like this that I'm going to use for my container. I am going to now start to add the little elements that are going to make this turn into a little animal. So I am going to go ahead and add on my tail, and just as like I'm adding on my tail, this is the same way that I'm going to add my head on. So I'm going to choose which area that I want this to be added to, and I'm just going to slip and score this just like this, and then I'm going to slip and score my tail, and I'm going to put some water on it just like this, and then I'm going to go ahead and add that on just like that. Now I'm going to make sure that I push these two pieces together, because if not, it's not going to stay on there as well. Now from here, this is where I would kind of take a piece of coiled clay and I would kind of build up this tail a little bit, just like this, kind of adding that into the side of the pot, but also kind of adding it to this tail as well, as you can see. Okay, and do you see how that kind of looks like it's growing out of this pot rather than just being attached to it? So I'm going to once again come over here and I'm going to take another little coil just like this, and I'm going to score it onto there, add a little bit of water over to both sides, both areas, and then I'm going to attach that as well. And then I'm going to take my wooden knife and smooth that over. And the reason that I'm doing this is A, to make sure that my tail is firmly attached to this pot, but to also kind of make it look like the tail, like I said earlier, is growing out of the pot rather than just being attached. So whenever you guys are making your pieces, you want to keep this in mind to make it look like it's coming out of the pot rather than just being added in. And then just kind of like how I have like maybe a little spot down here that needs filled in with clay, right here I'm gonna probably fill in a little spot and put some more clay there, just kind of like right there, and then push that over with this wooden knife. Okay? Alright, and then after that you can shape your tail. I'm gonna shape my tail however I want it. Might take a little bit of time to do that. But I'm going to shape my tail how I want it, and then I'm going to add on my neck and face as well, and then I will be right back. So I have attached my head onto my little pinch pot. Once again, just a coil that I made, and then I kind of added like a little circular piece on for my head and kind of just maneuvered the clay around a little bit to get this shape. But the one thing I really want to make sure that I go over is adding on extra clay to your piece. You want to make sure that you score wherever you're going to add that extra clay. So I'm going to score right here, and I'm also going to score the piece of clay that I'm going to add on as well. I'm going to add just a little bit of water to both areas. And then whenever I go to add this on, if you can see, there's almost like a little opening there where you can see through. I want to make sure that I either take my wooden knife or even just a spoon, and I want to make sure that I push that down completely so that there is no air pocket within that space, because if there's an air pocket, then that will blow up in the kiln. So you just want to make sure that you are pushing your clay right up against the other clay, because you don't want to create that, because you don't want your piece to blow up in the kiln, obviously. So I'm just going to smooth this over, just like this. And I'm going to come over here on this other side and once again kind of smooth this clay over just like this as well with my wooden knife. You could use your spoon, you can also use your finger, you can use your finishing tool, whichever one you want to do, and just come in here and really add onto that neck as well. And the last part is going to be down in here. I'm just going to once again push that clay down so that it's getting smoother, and then I'll just come through and kind of take my finger with some water and go over it to smooth all of that out, just like this. From here I can kind of adjust and manipulate the neck a little bit to how I want it to be. Maybe kind of coming out a little bit, just like that. Okay. And then, so that's kind of how you add on your extra clay and making sure that you don't create an air pocket as well. The way that I make these is I roll out a coil just kind of like this, and if you're gonna make legs, I'm gonna have 4 legs on mine, so I cut them all at the same time so I know that they're the same length. And then I also am adding kind of a little front foot onto it, so I make little clay spheres, and I make all of these all at the same time. So like I said, I have 4 different feet, just like this. Those are my 3 up there, this will be my 4th, and I cut all of the little legs at the same time and ruled all the spheres at the same time. That way they reasonably match and look all alike. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my finishing tool, I'm gonna take the knife side, and I'm gonna score right where I'm gonna attach this onto here, and then I'm also going to score this as well. And then I'm gonna add like a little bit of water to both because you need that whenever you're attaching two pieces. And I am going to go ahead and just push those together just like this. Now I am going to use my wooden knife tool, and I'm going to come back in here and kind of try to smooth over the clay a little bit, just to make this look like it's not two pieces that have been put together. And I also want to kind of flatten the bottom because it's going to stand on this foot as well. And I'm just kind of working quickly, just smoothing that clay over. I'm going to come back in here with some water and kind of smooth that out, just like that. Maybe take like a little paper towel and kind of wipe that excess water off. And if you ever need to, in order to flatten out like a piece of clay, it's always kind of good to just hit it off of the table. That'll allow it to become flat, just like that on the bottom, so that whenever this animal stands, it's nice and flat and not going to fall over. I'm going to come back in here with my wooden knife and just kind of add like a little detail onto the foot, just like that. And I'm just going to kind of like mess around with just adding my little details into my clay. I want to do this before I add these feet on, just because it's going to be harder whenever the foot is on there. So I have all of my feet, and I would suggest putting your feet on last. And I am just going to go ahead and score all of these pieces just like this. And then I'm also going to take my piece and I'm going to score where I'm going to put each one of those feet. And then I'm going to add a little bit of water to each one, and then also to the feet as well. And then I'm literally going to just push those feet right into that spot, just like this, just like that. And then what you want to do is you want to go ahead and take a little piece of clay and kind of coil it, just a small coil. I'm using a lot of coils in this project. And you want to go ahead and score this area a little bit. Score your coil and water. And then I am going to go ahead and just add this onto there, just like this, and bring that coil the whole way around. And the reason why is because this helps to really stabilize that leg onto the pot, but it also makes it look like it's part of the pot rather than just being stuck on there, just like this. So I'm going to go ahead and just smooth this over with my finishing tool. You can use your finger, I'm going to use my wooden knife. You can use your finger, you can use the finishing tool, you can use a spoon, and I'm just going to add that on there just like this, and now I have my one foot on there. So I'm going to go ahead and add my other 3 feet on, and I will be right back. So now I have all 4 legs onto my little dinosaur planter pinch pot, and now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come in and do my finishing touches, which means I'm going to take my sponge and some water and just give this piece a little bit of a sponge bath, just like this. I want to smooth over these spots, and then also I'm going to let this stand. Also kind of on the inside, whenever you are letting it, if you're going to let it stand on the feet that you created, I would just be careful as you're giving it a sponge bath. and just come in here and kind of just clean it up, clean up the sides. This side needs cleaned up as well, just like this. And then from there, what I would do is just make sure that the top looks good, make sure everything's smoothed out, there aren't any little nicks or lines in your project. And then I would find a good place to put maybe like your initials or your name first or last on here, and then you are done and pretty much good to go. So here's your little animal pinch pot.